Let's talk presidential politics with Danielle Moodie, host of the podcast WokeAF, and Adrian Elrod, former director of strategic communications for the Hillary for America campaign and an MSNBC contributor. Good to see you both this evening. Danielle, let me start with you and this opinion piece from the Washington Post that says that Joe Biden still needs black women for him to win. It highlights three areas: Biden's vice presidential pick, the Supreme Court, and particularly who might be a new Supreme Court justice, and his black political agenda. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, my thoughts are this, Joshua, is that, yes, Joe Biden does not have the entire black community on lock. And that was evident by his interview over the weekend with Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club. He has a lot of work to do, and he literally needs to set out an agenda that is about more than just congratulating the NAACP, congratulating himself for a crime bill that really disenfranchised many in the black community. And so it's really important for him to buckle down and to see that there's a lot of work to be done as it pertains to criminal justice reform, as it pertains to our current public health crisis that is ravaging black and brown communities. So you can't go on, be a wise guy, make jokes when there are serious issues that have been a pandemic within the black community for quite some time.
I don't know how you see it, Danielle, before I come to you, Adrian. Danielle, I don't know how you see it, but to me, it seems like the risk for the Biden campaign is not that black voters might choose Donald Trump. It's that black voters might choose none of the above and stay home.
Absolutely. And that is something that is very real. Remember when Donald Trump said, you have nothing, don't vote for me, you have nothing to lose, right? Well, black people actually are tired of losing, right? They're tired of trying to choose between a worse condition or a not so good condition. And Biden has an opportunity with this election cycle, not just with his VP pick and his Supreme Court pick, but with an actual agenda and plan, like the plans that we saw coming from Elizabeth Warren on the campaign trail. We need to see that coming from Biden. And it means to be more than just lip service.
Adrian, what do you make of the Trump campaign using Biden's words against him? Some people say this is a case of pot versus kettle. Some people say that it's fair game that Joe Biden said this. He shouldn't have said it. He apologized for it. How do you see it, Adrian?
I mean, I guess I'm not surprised, frankly, Josh, that the Trump campaign would do this, but at the same time, it opens up a complete Pandora's box for the Biden campaign to really draw a contrast. I mean, Donald Trump has been horrible for people of color throughout his entire presidency. And I do agree with Danielle that Joe Biden's going to work hard for every single vote, and that includes every single vote among people of color. They brought him back to this race. Let's remember in South Carolina, James Clyburn endorsing him. African Americans in particular brought him back. So he's going to fight tooth and nail for every single vote that he can get, and he's got an agenda to demonstrate that. But at the same time, does Donald Trump really want to go there? Does he really want to have this conversation right now about his failed presidency for communities of color? By doing this, he is opening up that door, and I don't think this is a fight that he wants to have.
Well, but if they did open this door, Adrian, I can't help but thinking that the president would not flinch. I mean, he has never apologized for anything that he has ever said, ever. And he has said some of the most unthinkable, racist, horrible things in the past, and has never, ever flinched about it. It almost feels, Danielle, like Joe Biden stands to lose more from this by comparison to the rest of his record, because he might actually feel like, well, here's what happened. Let me explain this. President Trump has never shown a propensity for apology or introspection. So this would kind of roll off him, I think, right?
Yeah, but I think that what was really good, what the Biden campaign did really right, is that ad that you showed at the opening. That's what we need to see more of coming out of the Biden camp. We do need to see a stark contrast, right? We do need to see that Donald Trump is golfing while Americans are dying, and once he realized who was dying from COVID-19, that all of a sudden it's time to reopen, right? When we see that 80% of those that are dying are Black and Latino, are low income, are on the front lines of this pandemic, and so all of a sudden he doesn't care. I think that Biden, though, what he needs to do is that he needs to draw the contrast, but he also needs to show us what he's going to do for the Black community. He needs to show us what he's going to do with public education. He needs to show us how he's going to stop voter suppression. He needs to show us how he's going to fix a very broken healthcare system that has many at the bottom now dying, suffering unnecessarily. So he has a work to do in showing the contrast, but in also laying out his plan.
Very briefly, Adrienne, take a look at the list of people that we are aware of on the short list of Biden candidates. If you had to put a $100 bet on one of those in terms of who gives him the best chance of winning based on how they might impact their campaign in our last few seconds, who'd you put your money on?
Oh, God, Josh, are you really going to do this to me? Look, they're all strong. I mean, Gretchen Whitmer brings a lot to the fact that Michigan is a key swing state. Kamala Harris is obviously somebody who, can bring a lot of voters. The great thing about this party right now is we've got an embarrassment of riches. We've got a lot of strong female candidates who Joe Biden gets to choose from.
But does it need to be a woman of color? Does it need to be a Val Demings or a Stacey Abrams or a Kamala Harris?
I don't think I hope it is. I hope it is. If it's not a woman of color, you better be sure that there's going to be a lot of women of color campaigning for him. This is ultimately his decision, but Val Demings, Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, all strong choices for Joe Biden to pick from.
Adrienne Elrod and Danielle Moodie, good to have you both with us tonight. Thanks very much.